They were joined by Buff Bagwell, Marcus Bagwell. I don't know what you like being called these days.
I think Buff still, but it's with the world of wrestling, man, it's that Marcus or Buff, but if I hear Mark, that's like I stop in the airport because that's somebody that really, really knows me.
Right.
Marcus still could be wrestling. Marcus still can be wrestling fans. Buff can be fans. But when I hear Mark, that is somebody that went to elementary school with me. So I think Mark is my true friend is what called me Mark.
Do you still get noticed a lot when you're in the airports and stuff?
Dude, it's crazy. And ironically, you see my no goatee right now.
Yeah.
And that, believe it or not, cuts it in half, which is a lot.
Right.
But with the goatee, everywhere I go still, and I thank God for this, it's because I'm still in shape.
Yeah.
I still look like Buff Bagwell. I'm still in shape, and I'm still healthy. And like right now, I ain't been in the gym in 3 weeks because I had a shoulder replacement, and full shoulder replacement. And that's why I shaved my goatee, because I couldn't shave my face. So I do the left-hand shave deal, so I just said I can't keep up the goatee, so I shaved it all off, man. But, I still get noticed everywhere I go, man. It's kind of bizarre.
You kind of look like Brian Christopher a little bit these days.
Me and Brian have always kind of heard that. We've joked about as much heat as he's got and as much heat as I've got. We've talked about being a tag team called the Heat Seekers.
Oh, that would be
great. And I heard that name the other day. There's actually a tag team going by that name somewhere. And I thought, that's a good name, the Heat Seekers.
I think the last time we sat down with you was August the 11th in 2001, so it's been about 14 years. So,
wow, dude.
Yeah, it's been a while.
That's crazy.
Yeah, recently you've made some headlines discussing your short tenure in WWE. Let's go back at that time period in your career and start things off. When you were hired by WWE, what promises were made to you about how you would be used and how the WCW brand was going to be promoted?
When we first was hired by the WWE, the promises that were made to us were, we were going to get a fair shot at everybody. Everybody was, even, square. There was no promises, no guarantees. This was the very first talk when Shane McMahon showed up unannounced at Panama City. We, as the top talent, I'm with Sting, Goldberg, Nash, and we wheel up and see that WWF trucks are there. And we're like, oh my gosh, what the hell's going on here, So everybody scatters and goes to their people of what they know. Well, within 5 minutes before we could really find out what was going on, Shane McMahon, they go, hey, there's a meeting in the room, so-and-so, Shane McMahon's going to talk. So we actually go in this meeting, I remember I was standing directly beside Lex Luger, I never forget it. Goldberg was right here, I never forget it. And we're like literally having no idea what's coming out except we know it's all bad. And Shane takes about 3 minutes, and he says, I just want to let you guys know we own the company. We're going to hire some guys. We're going to fire some guys. We're going to hire some referees. We're going to fire some referees. And that's it. And everybody kind of give a half applause, half not applause. And so there wasn't nothing from the very first meeting, nothing. So the first show came out, and me and Lex were the tag team champs. And we wasn't on the show. So pretty much, if you're not on the very first show, you're not getting hired.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh my God, we're not even on the show, So I go to the truck, get ready to leave. Here comes Lex running out. He goes, we're on the show. We're on the show. So if you ever watched the very first show when Shane McMahon took the show over, and Vince was via satellite in Cleveland, and we were in Panama City. Me and Lex do some kind of little interview. And it was live. We did some kind of interview thing. From there, we're depressed, don't know, had no ideas, no nothing. No promises, no guarantees, no nothing. My contract's up in 2 months. So I'm in a real bad position. Luger just signed for, I think 1.5 for 3 years. So no matter what, the event, we knew Vince taking it over, he's got to pay the contract.
Yeah.
So the people that just read their contracts, they're, hey, so what? People like me were going, oh no, what are we going to do, So it came down to the time to, let's talk. So I was making, I think, $750 at the time, and for a 3-year deal, rented cars, hotels, first class ticketing, the whole 9 yards. and which is a ton of money. And he came in. He had courted me about 6 months previous to this, and met me, flew me in, whole 9 yards. Me and my wife.
This is Vince.
Okay. Vince McMahon flew me in. Me and my wife, limousine, whole 9 yards into Newark, Stanford. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Stanford,
Connecticut. Flew me in the whole thing, and this is before I think even he knew he was buying the company. Fast forward, buys the company. I become, what's your name again? Instead of, I said, wait a minute, we just met. Don't you remember us meeting and talking? And that was all gone then, because now he owns the company. I got no stroke. I got no leverage. They offer me, I think, $175. And I said, Vince, I have to sell everything. It's a lot of money, and thank you. I said, but I have to sell everything in the world. I sell my house. I have to sell my motorcycle, my cars. I said, I cannot do a little better than that. I mean, keep in mind, no leverage. I think we ended up settling at $225 or $250, with some incentives,
right,
kind of thing. And still had to go home, and I had a $5,000 house payment, big mansion and all that stuff. Long story short, sold the motorcycle, did things I had to do to get my living back right, and under the right thing. And from that point, the promise was fair shake at everything. Everybody's going to be nice to everybody. There was 12 guys hired, and 9 of them, honestly, wasn't. I don't think. And I've got heat from this before, and I'll get heat again, and I could care less, because I tell the truth. 9 of them I don't think were stars, like your Sean Stasiaks, your Sean O'Hara's, your Mark Jendraks, your Hugh Morris's. He was a star, but star power guys. I don't know, whatever you think is a star or not. But the 3 main guys that WWF called their main guys that they hired were Dallas Page, Marcus Bagwell, and Booker T. And that was the main guys. The other guys were like the kid I hadn't gotten a fight with, which was Hurricane. He wasn't considered he was one of the 12, but he wasn't even considered as one of the stars at that stage, we were told. So we go to school. They made us go to school, and that was like a setup for somebody to bitch about it.
Right.
Knowing I was going to bitch about it, and I didn't. I went to school every day and learned the 20-foot ring instead of 18-foot ring, and okay, I get it. I'm playing along. And so we found out pretty quick that it wasn't going to be straight up. It was, Stone Cold Steve Austin and me, stunning Steve Austin and Marcus Bagwell, go back to WCW days, and I could tell we wasn't cool. I was competition. I walked in like a friend, and all of a sudden I'm competition. And Steve was cool to me, but I could just still feel and understood this was a different game. We were now in competition full, and everybody that was hired was competition for everybody else. So I understood their position fully, but it was to the max. Like heat, to the max. So what I did to get the heat off me, I came up with a brilliant idea, I thought. I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Vince and say, look, let's get past all this money stuff. Let's do this. To get to the figure, back to the 250, I said, let's just, you ain't got to pay me for the last 2 months. And that would have been about like 60 grand for me, 60, 80 grand for 2 months. And he said, I said, I won't sit at home. I'll come to work right away. And my agent was Brad Small at the time. He went, Mark, great idea. So that got the heat off me, we thought. I saved Vince $80,000. I come aboard with the contract he wanted. Because $225 when you're 31 and you're Buff Bagwell, you're still going to be a millionaire because I'm such a baby still. Yep. I'm in the prime of all of it. So let's suck hind tit for $250 over here, a ton of money still, knowing you're going to be in the $500,000 range in a few years and be one of their main players. You're in shape, you're healthy, you feel good. let's get over as team, as friends. So I did so and was fired in 2 weeks. So it was pretty rough. Me and Booker knew it though. We wrestled a house show and tore the house down like me and Booker have done 10,000 times. And then the next night we were main event on Raw. And what people don't realize is 7 days later, Raw was in Atlanta.
Backyard of Ted Turner.
And nobody really remembers that. And every time they got a question like, is this true and is that true? I tell them that and they go, wow. I said, think about it. Why would you not wait 7 more days to put Buff Bagwell and Booker T as your main event?
You would have been over.
Over like Rover. So instead, he puts us in a bad situation. We go out there and have a horrible match and get booed out of the building. Our announcer gets booed. Shane gets booed. Stacy Keebler gets booed. Me and Booker go out and nobody talks about our match. Nobody calls a finish for us. Nobody does. So that at the end of the match, when we realized it was a clusterfuck, they came up and they took the heat. The WWF took the heat for it because Johnny Ace he thought their guy, which was Pat Patterson was going to go do. He did the main events. Well, he didn't speak to us about nothing. I never even met Pat Patterson. And Johnny Ace didn't talk to us about the finish or the match. So we went out and did the best we thought in the WCW type match, and it got shit on. It was horrible, and we kind of didn't have a good match, and our chemistry was off that night. We got booed for the first time ever, and I think Vince knew that a little bit. I really believe it. I bet he knew that. If he didn't know that, then why did I get fired 7 days later? People really believe that you're going to fire Buff Bagwell over one bad match? Come on, man. Do you really believe out there in video world that Buff Bagwell got fired because his mother? Do people really believe that I had my mother call the WWF and say, let him off Augusta in Birmingham? Well, fuck no, that's not true. Why would I do that? But people believed it. And one person was responsible, Jim Ross. And only God, Jim Ross, and me know the truth. And who's going to believe me? Nobody. God ain't here to tell me. He's not on video. And Jim's going to say, hey, And when I called Jim out on it, of course, he said, hey, it's a bad job firing people. And didn't take the full heat for it. But the true story is Jim Ross created that monster. And people believed it.
Why do you think Jim Ross had heat with you? Why do you think you got fired?
That's why Will let Jim Ross off the hook. It may not have been Jim. Jim made the call, and that's the route he took. He said, hey, it's a shitty job what I got here. It's a job I got to do. I got to call people. It's a bad job.
You've heard his podcast, right? What he talked about?
No, I didn't.
His quote was, my former job as head WWE talent relations was oftentimes a thankless job. I never relished in firing people, and it only makes sense that if a talent could help a company, that I wanted them to make it. I'm sorry Mark feels like he does. I'm sure he believes what's there is true, but I never went out of my way to cause him any misery. I just was the guy that had to deliver the bad news. That's what he claims.
And like I said, to be honest with you, that could be true, but somebody, and I was told it was Jim, somebody started, the mother called in, and I verbally, what Jim's leaving out right there is on video. You can go out into the video world and you'll know where to get it. They have a round table meeting and Jim Ross rips my fucking ass out. So if you're so right, Mr. Jim Ross, about your poor little job, and I feel so bad about this, and oh, I hate it for me. Why'd you fucking rip my ass out in the fucking round table? I mean, I didn't even see it because my dad told me not to watch it. But I know there's a video out there, and the videotape came out as me and Luger on the cover. It said Heat Seekers. And it's Michael P.S. Hayes, is that cocksucker Mike fucking Graham, and it's fucking dick-sucking Jim Ross, and it's a couple of guys that hate the young, good-looking kids. And they went out on tape, so go find it, Jim, and look at yourself. Dog me the fuck out. When you lick my ass at WCW, follow me around like a little fucking puppy dog, asking me how my football career was, and blew me half the time you were fucking there, and then you try to bury me and say you didn't say nothing. Well, go back and look at that tape and then say that. And you know what that equals? Is a fucking liar, Jim. You're a fucking liar. You went out, you started this fucking rumor that ruined my career. So I hope your fat ass, stroke face, one eyeball feels good about that. You cocksucking fat piece of shit. Okay?
How do you really feel about Jim?
Yeah, really. That's just kind of being blunt about it.
Right. So my next question, and I guess the answer would be no, is do you think you could ever mend fences?
Absolutely not. There's no way.
Have you ever seen him at any conventions or anything?
Never seen him once.
Okay.
Never seen him once, but there's no way to mend a fence, brother, of costing me my life.
Yeah.
Jim Ross, I feel, and I just proved on tape where Jim Ross ruined my career. He started this fucking rumor about my mother and ruined my career. How do you mend that fence?
It's true.
How do you do that? Now, do I think he's the mastermind behind it all? Absolutely not. It wasn't his idea to have me and Booker in starts with a T out, Tacoma, Washington, where we wrestled that night on Raw. It wasn't his idea to do that main event and realize. I think something fell apart along the way, but I do think that Jim had all to do with what I'm talking about the mother calling the office and starting that rumor, and everybody believed it. And I think Jim was 1,000% behind that, and there's no way to keep from saying it. So that's...
Now, after you were let go by the company, they didn't want to say that you're fired. They wanted to tell you that you were released, right?
Best part of the whole thing. When I got called into the room, they called me up and they said, I showed Jim's exact words, which, once again, Jim, you're a fucking liar. When he did call me up that day, where there's no witnesses except Jim, me, and God, he called me up and he said, hey, buddy, we got big plans for you on Monday. So rest, let your head heal from me and Hurricane's fight.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, we'll get that in a minute. He said, let your head heal. He said, and chill out, rest, relax, and we got big plans for you on Monday. Now, when you're Buff Bagwell, everything that was just said is 1,000% true. You're Buff Bagwell, man, and you just had one crappy match. Hey, man, sit at home, chill out. Let's let it calm down a little bit. Come to Phillips Arena and let's tear the fucking house down, right? Wrong. I show up to Phillips Arena. I'm all excited about what Jim had told me. I'm going to, get something big happening today. And all of a sudden, Johnny Ace comes out and says, hey, can you come in this room for us? So I came in the room. And when I walked in the room, I swear to God, it was so unbelievable that I even should have been fired. To the world, to internet, to everybody listening to this show, to you, to the camera itself, everybody out there knows Buff Bagwell should right now and should have been in the WWE the whole time. There's no arguing that. Jim Ross could not argue that right now. Triple H could not argue that on camera. There's no reason why Marcus Bagwell didn't have a second chance. Not sure what I did the first time, but a second chance if there was something I did wrong. Don't do that again, that bad match. Mark, don't do this. Whatever it was I did, don't do it again and let's regroup. I've got 1 million texts, 1 million emails, 1 million people over this 15 years that have told me that. So it's really a very sore subject with me, that he's done that. But when I walked in the room, Johnny Ace finally calls me in. I go in the room, and it's Vince, Jim Ross, and Johnny Ace. And I swear to God, I did not think I was getting fired. I had no idea. I was like, oh, what's going on? I guess they want to talk to me about part of the show tonight, you know? So I'm sitting there like Buff Bagwell would be sitting going, hey, what's going on? And all of a sudden, Jim starts kind of talking. And as he's talking, I'm listening, and I go, wait a minute. You're getting fucking fired. And it hits me. Keep in mind, I've only had one job in 45 years. And that was a wrestling job. I've been doing this since I was 20. 19. I never had a job in my life. So I don't really know what it feels like to get fired. So it took me a minute. And I went, I think I'm getting fucking fired. And then all of a sudden, I raised my hand. And Vince goes, you don't got to raise your hand, Mark. And I said, Vince, I feel like I had to. I said, but are you guys firing me? And brother, they didn't miss a beat. Jim goes, no, we're not firing you. And I went, whew. He goes, we're releasing you. And I go, so I let him talk for a minute, and I go, again.
Right.
And Vince goes, Mark, you don't got to raise your hand. I go, well, I'm just trying to be polite. I go, what's the difference of getting fired or released? And they had a fucking answer for that too. They said, well, if we release you, we can bring you back in 3 months. And if we fire you, we got to redo the contract. And at the end of that statement, I said, start smiling, start shaking hands, you're fired, leave on a good note. And that's what I did. I cut them off. I said, hey guys, gotcha. I even said, do you want me to sneak my bags out so nobody really, hey, where you going?
This is at TV, right?
Oh, we're at TV, brother. We're at Monday Night Raw. And Phillips, my family's in the crowd. If the building's full, it's 5 o'clock. We're getting ready to go on. And so why would I be leaving with my bags? So I was nice enough to say, hey, do you want me to sneak out for you guys since you just fucking fired me? I was trying to be nice. And they said, and they kind of threw them off. I'll never forget their faces. They were like, no, that's just whatever. And they didn't really know what to say. They didn't really realize I was going to come back with something that nice of, how do you want me to leave the building? I mean, I really did. That's how much I cared. So sure enough, when they said that, here I go just wheeling out. And people are going, where are you going? Where are you going, Bagwell? Where are you going? I just kind of said, I'll be right back, did that deal. Trying not to cry, realizing I'm going from, being Buff Bagwell to nothing, and I'm trying to figure it out, what's going on. Trying to get out the door without crying, and the last person I see was Chris Benoit. And he just had neck surgery. So he was outside, actually. I was trying to get to my car without crying, and he had pulled up in his car with his wife driving. Past his,
right.
The wife that everything went south on. And so he comes up, and he said, where are you going? And so I did tell him the truth. I said, man, I just got fired, dude. He went, what? And I said, dude, I to be honest with you, I don't know. It's bizarre. I'm just out of here, Got in my car, called my parents, and I said, you guys can come home. And they go, what do you mean? I go, I'm home. And they were like, oh. So they fucking left the seats, got in the car, and that was it, bro. And then the rumor of my mother got me fired from Jim Ross started, and it stuck like glue.
Yeah.
People really, to this day, 15 years later, up to a year or two ago, every interview I did asked if that was true or not. And
what was the premise of that? That she called and didn't want you to work in that town?
Supposedly, my mother called to get me out of those cities to let me rest.
Because of the fight with Shane?
Because of the head. I had already worked Booker T in a house show with my head. I had already worked Booker T on TV for the first match of the Invasion with my head. Why would I call and cancel 2 house shows? So I can prove it being a crazy, stupid lie easy, but I can't prove it was Jim. But I think it was Jim, and I think I just proved to everybody in the world, if you just watch the round table and what Jim said, he's lying to us right there, and he's lying on the round table. But regardless of whatever the reason was, it stuck like glue. So bravo on whoever thought of the lie, because it fucking stuck. And man, like I said, for 13 years, people would call me and go, is it true about your mother? It faded off from, why did your mother, to, is it true about your mother? But buddy, it stuck. And I could not shake it. And my only comeback every time was, dude, think about it for a minute. You're Buff Bagwell and you think they're going to fire you for a bad match?
Right.
You really think they're going to fire you because your mother called? Well, fuck no, they're not. They're going to say, tell your mother to quit fucking calling us, and get your ass to the town or whatever. They're not going to fire you over that for a 10-year run that they could have had me for in the prime of my life, in the prime of my body, everything. So they jerked away my whole career, really pretty right there underneath my feet.
Looking back, is there anything that you could think about? Like, could you have done something, or
the only thing is I was real fucked up. I was definitely fucked up, but
on gimmicks, you mean, or
yeah, on pain pills, drinking, that whole thing. But we were fucked up at WCW too. So everybody was. Right. Everybody. I mean, there's no names to be called because everybody was doing it. I remember one, I'm not even going to say his name. I remember one dude at WWE that's still there that I was taking a shit and telling the guy, man, I wish I had a beer, and I kind of, how's it working around here, and I try to figure things out. He was acting like he was taking a shit, drinking a beer in the stall. So I was like, wow, what a great idea. So I'd have a beer in the stall, but everybody was doing it. You had other guys smoking pot, blowing the pot down the drain, and it was everywhere.
Right.
So once again, yes, that does cross my mind, but no warning, no.
Were you fucked up when you maybe went to TV the first time, or no?
No.
Okay.
No, but I think, but still, let's say I thought I wasn't and I was. Why not? Hey, man, you guys, you can't do that here. And I understand, you get where y'all come from, everybody was partying. It's not flying here, Zero talk about, zero warning, zero ever any kind of talk about pills, addiction, beer, anything, nothing. It was just literally come in this room and didn't know I was getting fired, and I was fired and left.
Right.
In Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow.
So.
And when you were in gorilla position, I think they told you not even to look at the camera when you walked down the.
I got up in Tacoma. We got up there, got ready to go and everything, and already me and Booker know something's up, because why would they put us in Tacoma instead of Atlanta?
Yeah.
Why not wait 7 days for the big invasion? So we already know, we're sitting there talking like this, covering our mouths, but we can't say anything. But we know in Tacoma something's up, because why would they be doing this? But nobody's going to say nothing. We're main event on Raw. We know we're not main event. We're not main event material at this stage. There's no doubt about it. I may not ever be main event material, but I definitely wasn't main event material then, ever. So we knew something was up to put us in main event in a different city 7 days before Atlanta. So we knew right there the wheels were coming off. So we get up to the go position, and Booker goes out first, and just the biggest booze I've ever heard. And I'm next. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is brutal. And so when I'm trying to swallow all that, my music comes on, and Shane grabs me, turns me around, and goes, oh yeah, by the way, you can't look in the camera here. And I said, I can't, what? I said, have you ever fucking seen me come out? I said, that's all I do. I said, all I do is look in the camera and laugh. I said, that's the main thing I do. He goes, can't do it here. My fucking music's playing, bro. I'm getting ready to go out in front of a sold out building. And I said, okay, so if you ever watch that and bash back, I come out and try to be me with the fireworks and everything, and I'm posing. When I come down the ramp, brother, it's like I'm trying to dodge the camera because they told me not to. So right there, I swear to God, in my heart anyway, I feel was another ploy to throw me off my horse. And it worked. Their whole plan worked. So like I said, congratulations. The plan was fantastic and it worked. It just fucking ruined my life. But congratulations, it worked. But it really did. It worked. It stuck like glue. So don't look in the camera when that's all I did for 5 years.
What happened with you and Shane Helms?
Me and Shane were actually on complete different levels at WCW. He was a guy that barely should have been there. I feel, and I'm sure he may not. But 3 count. Where do you fit in? Good wrestler, skinny kid, trying to make it. We wasn't friends, wasn't enemies, but we wasn't friends. We were on 2 different planets at WCW. I was in the NWO, and he was in this thing called the 3 count. And so that's basically how it was. That's just a shoot. Me and Shane, let me say, have made up since then. And Shane's a great guy, and we've made up, and we made jokes about the hitting the head and all that. So me and Shane are totally cool. But this is truthfully how he would say it, I think, and how I'm saying it. We wasn't even friends back then. We were like separate.
Right.
And I was running with this pack, and he was running with this pack, you know. And so we get to school. Now we're on the same team. You know, now we got 12 guys that have been hired. But like I said, you know, it was under the impression that these were the 3 stars and these 9 guys were digging for a job. And that's how we were told, and that's how it was perceived. And so we're at the ring and we're doing a workout. And Shane had, at the end of the workout, it actually was the best workout we had. We all got like 3 guys into a ring, into each corner. Like 3, 6, 9, 12.
Right.
And what you did is you just got in the ring and you did a spot and you tag a guy. And you learned so much that way. I didn't even realize it, how much you learned. It was great. So you run the ropes, tackle drive down here, you do a spot, whatever it was, and just really was a cool way to do it. At the end of that little section, which was really, I think, one of the last days of having to go to school, we were all talking, Billy Kidman, everybody was kind of talking, and it got brought up, something got brought up, and somebody, Shane dogged me out, said something. I'm all about being the ending of the trouble, but I was never feel like I was the starter. There was something that was said, and I'd be lying if I said it, I can't remember, but something was said to me from Shane, and my comeback was, I said something just simple, you know, to Shane back, and he said, well, at least I'm not a pillhead. And I said, wow. And all the boys, of course, woo, you know, the 12 boys, you know, whoa. And I said, wow. I said, really? We're going there, huh? I said, wow. I said, well, what about, I said, you know what I can't wait for, Shane? I said, I can't wait for your first interview. And I said, I'm sugar saying Helms. And I made fun of his lisp.
Right.
And, oh, boy, that pissed him off, of course. And he goes, well, at least I'm not losing my hair. And I said, wow. I said, look, Shane, I tell you what, this is getting out of hand. I said, let's just cool off. I said, let it go. I said, or if you want to, I can just beat your fucking brains out. Either way you want to go with it. And so he said something else, and he was right here on the bottom ropes, like leaning on the ropes with his elbows, and I was on the apron on the floor. Well, right when he said something else, I just open hand slapped him, and it rolled him down into the turnbuckle. I hit him so good. Not a punch, it was a slap, but still, as soon as I hit him, I went, fuck, Bagwell, there you go again, you know, now you got Tunny heat on you again. I turned to walk off from it, and wham, he had a water bottle that he was icing his ribs. Oh, that's what it was, I remembered. He was hurt that day, and whenever he said something to me, I said, wow, at least I can go when I'm hurt. That's what started it. And so whatever he said to me first, I came back to his injury. But I didn't know he had a frozen brick and an ace bandage under his shirt. So I said my piece, turn off after I hit him. I was like, oh my God. And wham. How I didn't go down, I've got no idea. This felt like a sledgehammer hit me. And he swung it. He had to swing it as full force. And Shane's a badass. I mean, I didn't know this at the time, but Shane will fight you, of course. I mean, it was a ton of bricks, bro, literally. But it was just, as I turn around and blood just, it's just, we're in a puddle of blood. Wow. Here comes Fit Finley and Johnny Ace over, and I'm looking at all the wrestlers' faces going, don't do it, don't say it, don't say it, don't do it. So I go, man, and the first thing that came to me, I went, man, I slipped. I slipped and fell. And I see Shane literally go, oh, thank God. I mean, everybody went like, oh, thank God. Because everybody's worried about their job.
Yeah.
So the part that everybody don't know is then Shane was in the bathroom with me back to the 9 and the 3. I was supposed to be one of the main 3, and they were the 9 trying to make it. Shane thinks now he's fucked his job opportunity up. I said, Shane, I just hit you. So he's holding the towel on my head in the bathroom crying and like, oh my God, what have I done? Oh my God. I said, dude, fucking, are you kidding me, brother? I hit you. Don't worry about it. Fuck. But all the boys wanted to stick to the lie. And I go, guys, y'all are a bunch of fucking wrestlers. This is going to get out. I said, half of you already text somebody. I said, come on, let's don't do this. They convinced me that we're going to keep it a secret. And so now, me being the Mark Bagwell that people really know, the people out there that are really friends with me that know Mark Bagwell is solid, I said, okay. So I fucking gimmicked my head up, put a ball cap on, because they don't let you fly if you're bleeding or something, and I managed to get that plane off in the air with a fucking gash in my head. Fly home, land, straight to the hospital. It was bad. Right. 20-something stitches inside and out. It was bad. I had to get it cauterized and all that stuff, and it was bad. And so TV, that was the last day of school. TV would have been Tacoma. We show up in Tacoma. Nobody knows once. I do the house show the night before. Hurt. I show up at TV. Hurt. Didn't tell them nothing. Paid my own stuff. Nobody knows about me and Shane, I think. Get to Tacoma, walking down the aisle, walking down one of the hallways, and Shane's with the Hardy Boys. And I go, hey, Shane, what's up, man? Nothing. And I went straight to Johnny Ace and told him the whole story. Because obviously if Shane went from crying, holding the towel on my head, to the Hardy Boys that were over like fucking Rover, and Shane are not speaking to me, it's done got exactly what I thought it would be, is I'm the bad guy. So I went straight to Johnny, told him the story. He got the 12 guys together. And because this is Johnny's job now. Yeah. Johnny's job was to get the 12 guys over. He comes in and says, hey, everybody make up, what the fuck's going on? Kind of cusses us out, gets us on our ass and snap out of it. Everybody shakes hands, separate from there. We don't know it yet. Me and Booker are main event. So that's how all that went down. So yeah, but since then we've made up and no heat at all, and I like Shane a lot. It just, shit happened, and
When you got released, did you ever contact the office and said, hey, you're still out here, you going to bring me back?
Probably 5 times.
Who'd you talk to, Jim again?
A couple. Huh. Yeah, a couple. A couple times I talked to Jim, and a couple times I talked to Johnny. And I probably did it, I'd say 7 times. 7 times over, like the last 5 years, absolutely not. Last 7 years, probably not. But the first 8, I probably did it 7 times total, but it would be like, you guys are kidding, right? I mean, really? And then TNA happened, and my ploy there was, you really got to be kidding. I handed Jeff Jarrett 10,000 emails. And I said, just tell me what to say to him. I said, tell me what to say. He goes, what do you mean? I go, just tell me. I said, I don't know what to say no more. I don't know what to say. Tell me how to answer why I don't have a job. Tell me what to say. That was my answer with them. But with Vince and them and Johnny, I say Vince, with Johnny Ace and Jim was the only two I ever talked to every time was Johnny Ace or Jim. I get on the phone. And they get on the phone with me, and they talk to me. And then finally, I'll never forget, I got the old from Johnny. It was the last time I talked to him. I was able to at least get out how I felt. I said, Johnny, let me ask you a question. I said, why is it that y'all taught us that being bad was good? And then all of a sudden, when I'm bad, it's bad. Why? Why is it I got this much heat that wrestlers would kill to have this much legitimate heat that y'all could do something with, and you know it, and you're not going to hire me and let me do something with it? Tell me what I've done. Tell me, man. And he goes, Mark, you're exactly right. So the only time I really felt like I got anywhere was that one Johnny Ace phone call. And it was, that way. He goes, Mark, you're right. Great analogy. I don't know why. They all played, I don't know, but Jim was actually kind of mean to me every time. I say every time, 2 times maybe. The first time I was told to call back in 3 months. So when I called back, Jim did the old, "Hey, Mark," with a deep breath, and I go, "Jim, I'm calling you guys back because you told me to call you back in 3 months, and it's been 4 months. I even knew y'all didn't want me to call you back, but I'm doing what you asked me to do, so I still did what y'all asked me to do for you. You asked me to call you in 3 months. It's been 3 months and 3 weeks, and I'm doing what you asked me to do." And he was just very, "Hey, we'll call you if we get a chance." I went from Buff to Mark. "We'll call you Mark when we get a chance," and da 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 da. And that was like one of the calls. And then, like I said, every couple of months, or every year probably would go by. I'd go, "Wow, are you fucking kidding me? Really? Why am I not there?" And it just always ended in a negative phone call.
What are your thoughts on why DDP never made it up there? Was it his age, or the way he put his matches together?
If I knew, I kind of wish I could give you a good answer on this, but I can't, because if I knew why DDP didn't make it, I'd know why I didn't. So I've got no idea. I think at that stage, my true honest opinion is, at that stage, they just said, let's just get rid of all WCW guys and be done with it. I believe Booker made it because he's the best black wrestler in the world ever seen, period. He was it. Think about it. You can't name a great black wrestler, and Booker T was fantastic. He was a great wrestler. He was a great talker. So I think he overrid the WCW thing because they needed a great black wrestler, and he fit into it. He was perfect. He was the best. He's one of the best workers ever. He could talk great, and you can't name 2 guys right now. Junkyard Dog, are you kidding me? He had a great gimmick. He couldn't work. Booker T was perfect. He was a perfect candidate. So I think that's why when people go, "Well, he was WCW," I think that's why he made it, was because they needed a guy like him, and he fit into the role perfect. And he was great. He was tall. He was big. He was one of the few, man, that we tried so much to find. He was the Tiger Woods of wrestling. He was it. So I think he made it because of that. But I think they really said, "You know what? Fuck WCW. Let's show them that WWF at the time still is the powerhouse." And I think that's why we all went down.
You talked in passing about the drug scene in WCW, and then you look back at some of the guys today that might have suffered from different issues they might have had. What are your thoughts on the current state of Lex Luger, for instance?
Just talked to him the other day, man. He it rips my heart out, is what it does, because me and Lex were, thick as thieves, best friends, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, literally, like, inseparable. At one stage, I remember being on the road with Lex and him saying, "Do you realize we've made more contact with each other than we've made with our wives this past month?" And it threw me off. At first I went, "What?" Then I realized he was right. Getting in and out of cars, at the gym, wrestling, we've been on the road a month, and I'd made more contact with Lex than I'd made with my wife. So I understood what he said. So that's how tight we were as friends. And it was me in the passenger seat, Lex was driving, a cooler behind Lex, and Liz behind me. And that's how it was for a good 3 years, day in, day out. So, yeah, so I hate where he's at. He does not hate where he's at. He's in a great place. He feels like, if you talk to him, I don't know if you've talked or any interviews with him or anything. He's really, man, he is Lawrence Foal, and that's his real name, and that's what he is. But when I see him, it's real hard for me because I love him so much, and he was you got to realize, I watched Lex Luger on TV like you did, but then I wrestled with Lex Luger and was World Tag Team Champs with him, and he was the total package. He did look the best. He was the tallest, best body, leanest, biggest guy out there. He was the total package. And for me to see the total package in a wheelchair, it rests my heart out because I love him so much. But with his Christianity walk that he's doing, and I'm proud of him that he's able to do that. He's done more than I was able to do. I've cried more about my position that happened to me than Lex has cried about his position being in a wheelchair. And that's pathetic. So I'm calling my own self out. I mean, really, that's sad. But Lex is just a triumphant of a man. He's so strong, powerful, hate his position he's in. Wish he missed the days of working out with him in the gym and all that, but we're still very close. He's great, great, great guy, and I'll never regret or take 1 minute back from the time we had together, and I love him to death.
What do you miss most about WCW?
The money, I think. And, you know, really that's being honest, is the money. I mean, we're broke. You know, we went from being rich to broke. But it was not just the money, man. We were friends. We were up there at WWE. It was the competition. It was a grind. It was, you know, backstabbing. It was at WCW we were on contracts, so it was fun and we had a blast, and you know, brothership, and it was a lot. It was much different, and but. You know, most of all, it's of course, to be honest, would say money, but I still, it's all of it, man. I mean, you know, I told you, the guy that brought me here today, like one time Eric hauled our bikes professionally, had them hauled to Minneapolis, you know, 40 motorcycles, 40 Harleys, and we rode Harleys from Minneapolis to Sturgis all together. I mean, with a mechanic with us and a mobile home if you wanted to get off and put your bike on the trailer and ride the mobile home. I mean, that's rock star stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And you're riding with all your buddies. I mean, it was just unbelievable. So there's a lot of great stuff that went down, but, you know, in the end, a lot bad happened in the end, you know.
Who do you blame for WCW falling apart?
I blame the company. What happened really, what people don't know, and keep in mind, I'm saying something that I don't 100% know. And this goes back to my father saying, believe nothing of what you hear and half of what you see. And I believe in that saying. I didn't hear this. I was told this. But it's what made the most sense, and I've gone with it. And that is when AOL and Ted Turner merged. AOL did not want wrestling. AOL Time Warner did not want wrestling. And so at that stage, Ted Turner owned less stock than them. When he owned less stock, very simple, they had more power. We were doing 2 O's and 3 O's, and the NBA Finals was doing 1s. So there's no reason to get rid of it unless you just didn't want it. We still were doing great ratings, but they pulled it and sold us for nothing, and that's, once again, half of what you hear, none of what you see. I mean, half what you see, none of what you hear. You know, it kind of falls in that category again, but I heard it was just like $3 or $4, $5 million that they sold it to Vince for, you know, which is just ridiculous. Now, during that time, Bischoff was trying to buy it, but who I blame the most would be AOL or whoever hired Vince Russo, because I just think Vince Russo started everything wrong.
You've made a number of appearances on TNA over the years. What are your thoughts on that promotion, and why do you think it hasn't really taken off?
TNA, I feel, was exactly like WCW. I feel like they were exactly like WCW. They were just right there, man, like WCW was for so long. They were right there, and it just didn't glue, and I don't know why. I watched, and I rooted for them, and I even had several thousands and thousands of emails that wanted me to go to TNA over going to Vince, and that blew my mind. But it was that kind of strong and that kind of strength. But if you remember, WCW, we wasn't known either, and until Rick Rude went out and said what they were doing on their show the next week, and we told that show. For some reason, people kind of started switching, and then that's when the power changed, and that's when you had the Monday Night Wars. But something like that needed to happen for TNA, and it never did. It never happened. and I don't know why, man. They had the right stars. They had the right setup. I mean, I did several appearances here, and once again, that's another company that reason is a lot more clear. TNA was why they have a job there is because of definitely was the drugs and drinking. They really had cleaned their act up. I still hadn't, that was the easy part. But
you're speaking of TNA, why you weren't there full time? Okay.
Yeah, that's why. But still, at the same time, when I was at the very beginning, I did the very first show, and then was clean and got my act all together to go back, and wasn't back on the show again. I thought, why would you even hire me for the first show and not bring me back? So it was the same kind of battle I was fighting there as I fought with Vince. But I don't know, man. I don't know that answer, and I just know that it felt like when I watched them, they were just like WCW. Something needed to happen. They were just one click away from being mega stars, and it never happened.
You mentioned drugs a couple times in this interview. How big was your problem, and how did you overcome it?
It was real big. During that biggest part, it was I was doing probably 20 lower tabs and 40 somas a day.
Wow.
Yeah, every day with a case of beer, but keep in mind, and I still went to the gym. I still trained. I didn't miss a workout. I didn't miss a diet. I kept everything in check. I just was addicted to pills, and I couldn't get off of them. And during this whole time, what people don't know, you watch those shows like those criminal shows in 48 hours and stuff, and you hear the bad guys, you hear the story about the bad guy, and you go, well, that guy's guilty. And then you hear the bad guy talking, you go, well, shit, man, I don't know, he may not be guilty. Well, that's one of these stories that I'm getting ready to say. I am, as we speak, as me sitting here right now, I have severe sleep apnea. Everybody that's ever roomed with me that's listening to this video or watches this video knows if you slept with Mark Bagwell, you slept with a freight train. I was never diagnosed as having sleep apnea. Sleep apnea, if people will believe this, because it is the truth, caused me to be a major drug addict. I would go to rehab, come out, and felt bad. I would go to rehab, come out, and felt bad. I went to 5 rehabs. Went to my 3rd rehab, came out, felt bad. So each time you go right back on, you don't feel good, obviously. The entire time I had sleep apnea and didn't know it. So I sleep with a CPAP machine now, which you don't know what that is. It's a machine that you put on your face. That's not oxygen, it's just air that keeps you from snoring. So what happened is I woke up and felt like shit every day. And I sedated to feel better. So when I would sedate, I felt normal, not fucked up. I had to sedate to make it to the ring. I had to sedate to go down. I had to sedate to get up. So I was on a pill regimen to be normal because I didn't feel normal and I didn't know why. Finally, way after WCW, way after WWF, I mean like 2006, no, I'll tell you exactly when it happened. 2005, I go get a sleep study done because my wife goes, you're dying. So they say you're normal. I get 4 DUIs in 5 months. None of them alcohol. Pulled me over, drew my blood, opiates, DUI. 4 in 5 months. It took me 4 years to fix that. So I go back after the 4 years and say, look, no, it was during that 4 years. I said, I got 4 DUIs. I came and got a sleep study. I know something's wrong with me. They go, okay, well, the problem is you came down here sober. We need you to come down here how you go to bed at home. And I went, oh boy, okay. So 2 Xanaxes and 4 Somas and a couple Lortabs later and a 12-pack, I go to the sleep study. 10 minutes into it, I guess I'd taken enough pills to go out as much as you can asleep. I would basically knock myself out because you can't go to sleep when you got sleep apnea. I'd knock myself out, and when I did, you go to that realm that is the best you can get to with sleep apnea, and it's that and you choke and you quit breathing and you go, and that's called sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is not, that's a snore. I would go and quit breathing and you go like that. That's sleep apnea. And so the mask keeps you from doing that. Long story short, had that. When that happens, your brain and your heart do not get oxygen. 54 times an hour, I quit breathing. Think about that, bro. Yeah. That's an hour. So in an 8-hour night, 8 times 50 is how many times my heart and my brain were not getting oxygen. So CPAP, and just like that, Lortabs were gone. So just like that, drinking and Lortabs were gone. Still hooked on somas. Went to rehab for somas and beat those. And so went from 2007, people that count days, they're not really sober. So everybody out there that goes, I've been sober for 6 months, 326 days, you're not sober. I have no idea how long I've been sober. But roughly, if you roughly know, you're telling the truth. Roughly, my heart they had to, it's called something, but when they clear, reset your heart. Yeah. Basically, there's another word for it. Starts with a C, whatever it was, but they basically boom, your heart back to rhythm. Because I had AFib. The AFib was caused from the sleep apnea, makes you feel like shit again, your heart. So I'd come out of those rehabs, my heart felt funny. Your heart's a muscle, soma's a muscle relaxer, your heart feels normal again. That caused a raging drug addict because I didn't feel good. And then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and everybody knows the rest of the story. And that's what happened. Once I figured out the problem and how to take medicine for it, my heart didn't feel that way, went to rehab, came out. And it was still, now you're addicted to drugs. So it still was, having to go to detox, get off Lortabs, get off the somas and all that. And to this day, I take a drug called Suboxone. And it's kind of like, the drug that helps people come off opiates.
Methadone?
Methadone. It's kind of like methadone, but some people hate Suboxone. Brian was on methadone to get clean this past time. I go, dude, you're crazy, Suboxone. So everybody's got their different beliefs, and everybody's different. My savior was Suboxone. So I got on Suboxone, and I've been clean since 2007.
What happened in 2012 in Georgia with the seizure in the car crash?
Seizure in the car crash was, I went to rehab to get off somas. I took Lortabs, but like I said, couldn't get off the somas. Was doing good with them, but just really couldn't get off them. I was addicted to them. Knew what the problem was now was my heart, but still I was hooked on them. I liked them, blah, blah, blah. You couldn't give me a pain pill at this stage. After taking 20 a day for 10 years. Wouldn't take one, didn't care. I realized the buzz was somas. It had nothing to do with Lortabs. So Lortabs were gone. So I went to rehab for that. And my manager at the time was a guy named Hamilton Taylor. And he was a billionaire and retired at 59. And he wanted me out of wrestling. He knew me as Buff Bagwell. And he started going to the independent shows with me and saw this independent crowd and small little gyms and selling gimmicks and tables and whoring yourself out for $10 and the rough part of it he saw. He jumped right in head first to help me. He set the table up with me and he helped me. He was my manager and he didn't take none of the money. He was already rich. He owned a company called Taylor and Associates. And it's still the number one company in Georgia. And it was a rehab company, not drug rehab. Like if a building caved in, he had like 200 nurses that worked for him to get people to their doctors and things like that. But right. It was called Taylor and Associates. And so long story short, when I was supposed to get out of wrestling, he wanted me out of wrestling. So I changed my number. And it got so bad toward the end, he would pay me not to go to these shows. And I said, Hamilton, this is going to ruin my name. I can't do this. I can't do it, bro. I said, I'm too straight up of a guy. I'm too honest. I said, I can't do this. This is, yeah, you're paying the promoter back, but we're still fucking the fans, and my name is involved. I can't do this, bro. And so during that little bit of an argument, he came up with, hey, what if you go to rehab, you get your shit straight off the somas, and you come work for my company? And I was like, done. Go straight to rehab. I go to a company, rehab called Palm Partners in Fort Lauderdale. You fly in, limousine ride to the rehab center, best rehab ever been to. Went with my CPAP machine, and I'm going to get clean and off everything, and everything's great. Go down, and when I leave, he becomes a raging drunk. My manager does. A raging drunk. I mean, my wife can't control him. I can't control him. Nobody knows what's going on. Why is he drinking so much? And he's a mean drunk. So he'd be mean and nasty on the phone. And I was like, Hamilton, I'm down here because you told me to do this and change my life. And so I come back home clean and sober to a fucking drunk manager. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is not happening. So I try to help him. I start back soma slowly because it wasn't working. I started flipping out. He's saying drunk. I'm having to watch him drink. I started taking 2, 4 here and there. Very mild doses. And then he actually fell in his house drunk one day and died. And I found him dead. I'm the one that found him dead. He called me up, and I thought he was drunk. He said, kind of slurring his words, and I said, Hamilton, fuck, you're drunk, man. He goes, no, listen to him. He goes, I bit my tongue real bad. Sure enough, he was sober. He had bit his tongue bad. He said, I need you to come down and check on me, I drive down to check on him. His tongue looked horrible. I mean, I don't know, like it bit in half. I said, bro, you need to go to the hospital. And it was a big anti-doctor thing. He said, I'll be okay. I said, Hamilton, listen to me. Your head is attached to your tongue. And I said, if you feel that hard to bite your tongue, you need to go to the doctor. Didn't go. 3 days later, I walk in and find him dead. Died of a brain hematoma. I called 911. After that, I, of course, instantly stopped somas, quit drinking, and I'm thinking, no big deal. I'm taking a couple. Well, what I didn't know is drinking 4 beers a day, to me and you, may not sound like that big a deal. To the human body, it's a big deal. If you drink 4 beers every day and you just quit, cold turkey, it's a big deal. I didn't know that. I was drinking a case of beer a day down to 3 or 4 beers. No big deal, right? It's a big deal. I didn't know that. So I had a withdrawal seizure. After he died, I was depressed, of course, but at the same time, I decided I'm not drinking no more. I'm getting clean, and I was already clean, and I'm going back to that path. So I got clean and everything, and then driving down the road one day, you actually see a light, like the light, but it's actually got a name called the aura. If you see the aura, you're going down, because that's for epileptic people. When they see the light, that gives you about 45 seconds to lay down or pull your car over. Because when you see the aura, you're going down. And that's what the warning is for people. So I saw the light on the phone with my wife. She goes, pull over. So I pulled over, and when you have a seizure, for some reason you draw to the right. Like your body goes like this. And I remember I was in my Jeep, and I put it in park and turned it off. And I remember sitting there going, and there's no stopping it. It's coming, and it's the worst feeling in the world, man. It's like you're getting ready to die of a heart attack, and you can't stop it. So you're sitting there by yourself. Nobody can help you. You're in the ride. You can see the aura follows you everywhere you go to. So wherever you go, the light's there, and you start getting dizzy, and you actually your eyes start to cross on the aura. And when that happens, anybody that's ever had a seizure out there, hearing me talk about this knows what I'm talking about. You literally focus in on the circles so bad you can't help it, and then you draw. And I don't know why you do that, but you draw like this. And I remember looking out my Jeep window, and there was somebody looking in at me. That's all I remember. Total blackout. And the blackout stage, I cranked my fucking Jeep, big jacked up Jeep. You can't get a Jeep in reverse if you ever drove a Jeep before, and you can't get one in reverse if you try. I somehow get it in reverse and a blackout stage and drive off. Don't remember any of what I'm telling you right now. Total seizure, no drugs, total seizure blackout. I go into this subdivision called Deer Run where I live, and I remember hitting mailboxes. That's my first sign of remembering it. Hitting some mailboxes, and then why can't I control my Jeep? Flipped it. That's all I remember. When we went back to the scene, there was no mailboxes on that side of the road. So we thought we dreamed it up until I got the police report. I knocked over 6 or 7 mailboxes, which means I had drove around for a while.
Right.
Because that road is not where I did it at. That's where I flipped at, and there was no mailboxes. So I had to go down into that subdivision, drive around some, come back up, turn back around, and none of this is in my vision, none of it. Except I kind of remember the mailboxes, and I remember flipping my Jeep. So that's what happened, and that happened probably 10 days or so after my manager died. He died on the 12th, and I wrecked on the 25th, so a couple weeks after. Yeah, and because my wife thought, God, we've lost our best friend now. I've lost my husband, Because I was in a coma for 5 days, and it was bad, man. It was a real bad wreck. I mean, broke my jaw, broke my neck again. The broke neck thing was the exact same day as my previous broke neck 14 years earlier. So I broke my neck twice in my life on the exact same day, 14 years apart.
How long were you out for before you were able to work again?
It was really, really, really bad, bro. I was 43 years old, and I looked in the mirror when I got home. I looked at my wife, and I said, I can't fix it this time. There's no way to fix it. I said, I can't fix this. What I was visualizing in the mirror, for the first time, I'd done something to myself that I couldn't fix. What I saw, I looked like an old, fat bodybuilder that was on crack. I can't explain, it was bizarre. My 2 front teeth are knocked out. I got a broke jaw. I got a belly for some reason, and I've lost all my muscle mass in 10 days. 10 days in the hospital did this. And I don't know how I did it or why I did it, but what I saw in the mirror, I'm telling you, Buff Bagwell couldn't fix. I had a buddy of mine that came in, a dentist named Thad Baird, a friend of mine, a tremendously good friend of mine, that would come over, put my shoes on for me, and he had a little gym in his basement. And we'd go train over there, because I looked so bad. I had nobody to see me. I looked so bad. So we started training with him, and slow before you know it, I was, kind of back. And then I started doing some shows. Probably, it took me a year. It was a year for sure before I could do anything. I was bad, man. I was in a C-collar for 8 weeks with a broke neck. They had to rebuild my face up through here, through my gums. I got 5 plates in my face, all of them up underneath my lip to get done. Like one, I broke my occipital bone, and then 2, 3, 4, like one's right here, 5. So 5 plates in my face where I broke my face. The nurse, the doctor that built my face back, she comes to my mom and said, obviously this kid's a good-looking kid, but I don't know that. Because my face is that big around. I look like a black guy. I was purple, and I've got one picture of it, and you can see it in my documentary. I got one picture of it, and I look like a black guy because I'm just purple. I'm like a purple, big, just blown up thing, and I can't figure, my eyes are swollen shut and all that. And she said, I need a picture of him. And so I told my mom told me, I go, well, damn, make it a good picture, So she asked the doctor had to go buy a picture to rebuild my face because it was so swollen and out of place. Yeah, she had to put a picture. So, but she did a great job, and I actually came out of it with like one little scar on my eye and a little scar on my nose, and that was about it.
We talked about TNA a little bit. Jeff Jarrett, what are your thoughts on him personally and professionally? Did you get along with Jeff? Me
and Jeff were really great. I don't know. Something happened with me and Jeff, too, that I don't know what happened. But me and Jeff were great friends all through WCW. I mean, great friends. And to the point where Jeff was, I think he would admit this, too. I think he would. Jeff was a lesser star than I was at first when he first came to us. I mean, he was, I think a bigger star worldwide. But at the time, Buff had really took it off, and Jeff had kind of was at WWF, and then came to us kind of. But then when Russo came, he really got his pushback again. But when he first came to us, I remember him not riding in our cars, and he kind of did his own little thing. But then all of a sudden, man, me and Jeff became great friends, and my best friend that I got in the business was the ball-headed referee for TNA, Slick Johnson. Mark Johnson was one of my best friends. I got him as in the NWO referee. I got him in the business. Him and Jeff became best friends. And that's why Mark was TNA's referee for years and all that. And Mark's got a son named Jarrett. But then even him and Jeff fell out over something. But me and Jeff didn't have a personal, we know it, falling out. But there was something I felt we lost somewhere along the way, and I don't know where. But because nothing was ever done maliciously or done bad to him that I know. I was just fucked up on pills, and TNA, and everybody else was too. But, it's just according to who you want to pick out as being the bad guy. And so his dad was real straight-laced. And so when they saw me, the first time they saw me messed up, they kind of, that was it for me at TNA. So,
do you remember your angle you did with Jeff, the big brawl? Or just?
Tell me a little bit, maybe.
It was just your debut, and you guys had the big brawl. It was nothing that stand out. I just wondering your record.
Kind of. When Jeff, I remember Australia having a lot of stuff to do with him because
that was for Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew McManus.
Yep, WWA.
Yeah. We had a little, and I remember watching that tape back, and Jeff put me over, and I was like, "Are you shitting me?" I said, "I don't remember that." But yeah, so me and Jeff were super tight, and Jeff's a party boy too, but he couldn't let his dad know, and Jeff was always great to me. It's just something I could just tell something happened along the way.
Too Cold Scorpio.
Wow.
Let's talk about him. Have you guys reconciled?
No.
Okay. So obviously, I've seen your documentary clip, and we sat down with Scorpio 12 years ago, maybe a little less than that, maybe 10 years, and we did the interview with him.
Right.
We're the ones who conducted that interview.
You are?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to ask you the question.
Sure.
First, let me tell you that anybody that knows Mark Bagwell at all knows that everything I just said was not 99% true. Everything I just told you was 100% true. I swear to God on my whole family that Scorpio's not entire interview, but 90% of it was a lie. Why did he do that?
I have no idea.
The only thing we held on to, me and my manager, we held on to that whoever conducted the interview paid him to do that. So obviously we know now that's not it.
Yeah, we did a normal interview like we're doing with you, and then we asked him about Marcus Bagwell, and that's what he said.
That's fucking great.
Yeah.
Like I said in my documentary, for starters, once again, if you know Mark Bagwell, can you imagine me letting a fucking guy tap my wife on the head and say I'm going to fuck you later on? Listen to me, bro. I'm not saying I'm going to beat you up, but there's going to be a fight. Right there. There's going to be a fucking fist fight. I may get my brains beat out, but there's going to be a fist fight if another dude taps my wife in the forehead. It was like he was on crack, cocaine or something, and lost his brain. I do remember the situation. He's telling the truth about that. We went to St. Martin, and this fucking motherfucker probably don't remember this, but the reason why we were there. We went to promote Ric Flair's gym. And it was during Easter, and a lot of the guys were hot about it because we've been on the road for so long. But we went to St. Martin on a paid-for trip. Once we got there, we were like, this is great.
Right.
So Scorpio, we went down there. I took my wife. He did not take his wife. I do remember there being a first-class seat thing, but we're tag team champs. We're tag team of the year. We're great friends. As far as I knew, we were great friends. There was no problems. Everything was great every time. I mean, me and we're buddies. And then he goes off on this seat thing and listening through the walls at us argue while he's fucking his girl and he'll fuck my wife. And it was bizarre, dude. It was so bizarre. I had to go where I went as a man and tell him on the documentary, like I told him, that the next time I see him, and I'm going to say it again for another video, the next time I see you, I'm walking straight up and knocking your fucking teeth down your throat. So don't try to shake my hand. Just know that if you see me anywhere, there's going to be a fucking fight because you said that much that I've got to defend myself. It's ridiculous what you said. But I want everybody out there to know that it's a fucking lie. I've got no idea what he's even talking about. He did go off the base of a true story that happened of us going to St. Martin, and he got fired right after that. So, and I asked him why, and back then I didn't really understand the business and all that. I didn't know how it worked, but supposedly he got for smoking pot or something. But that was it for him. He was gone right after that, if you remember, because I went to Stars and Stripes, and you never saw Too Cold ever again. So, like I said in my documentary, if it was something I did wrong, why did he get fired? And why did you never see him again except a little short run in the WWF as Grand Funk Master or whatever it was called with the feather in his hat? So I don't know. It was really bizarre, dude. But when I saw it, it tremendously pissed me off, of course. It hurt my feelings a lot because it wasn't true. So to put it in my brain, we just had to assume, well, maybe the guy that worked for him, maybe he paid him off or something.
Nope.
Now that we know that's not true, I really don't know, man.
It was just a normal interview, and we asked him about you, and that was it.
It is the craziest thing. When I watched it back, somebody called me one day and goes, dude, you got to see this. I turned it over there, and I was just speechless. I was like, oh, my God, why would he go there? And why would he go there? What date was that, roughly?
I was like 10 years ago. Were you there?
Let's just stay there.
2004.
Stay there. 10 years ago. Why would you now, 10 years ago, tell a story about listening through hotel room walls at fucking your wife? I mean, 10 years? It was just the most bizarre thing I ever seen in my life. Why not come to me? Why not tell me? And then lie about it? I mean, come on, man. Anybody that knows Mark Bagwell knows that I'm a fighter. You're going to tap my fucking wife on the head and tell her, I'll show you how it is to get fucked. I was like, is he really saying that? Does he know that he's saying it? So my honest opinion is he was either on some kind of major drug and don't really remember it, but it still can't help. Even when I was on major drugs, I'm responsible for what come out of my mouth. He's going to be held responsible for that. And when I see him, I'm going to beat his fucking brains out. So, I hate it, but I can't let it go. He said way too much, bro. I've tried to kill people for less than that. So what he said is just non-forgivable ever, and there's no way to reconcile that ever. And like I said, if I see him anywhere, and I wrestled him in between that 10 years, and we tagged together, and it was the best. We had the best time and hung out. And then it wasn't but about a year later, somebody said, man, you gotta go check this video out. And I was like, oh my God, we just wrestled with each. It was up here too.
Right.
Somewhere in Jersey, me and him tagged together and had a really good show together and everything. And then I was like, oh my God. So I've got no idea, bro. It was bizarre.
That is odd. Are you friends with Scotty Steiner? Were you friends with him back in the day?
Oh yeah. Me and Scotty were actually great friends. As close as friends as you can be with Scotty. Scotty's real to himself. He's very quiet. So me and Scotty were definitely friends. Something happened to us too, though. Something along the way happened, and that's just, that just happens in this world that we live in. When you start getting popular and things happen. But with me and him, every single night. I went out as his manager, and if you noticed, I was very careful on not taking the spotlight. It was all pointed at him and measuring his arms and putting him over, and he's the man, and me running around him and making him the star. And he'd go out, cut his interview, hand me the mic, I'd do my little interview, and we'd do his match. Every night was the same. All of a sudden one night, he cuts his interview, hands the mic off. Keep in mind, I'm trying to stay over. I'm Buff Bagwell. I'm trying to stay over. I'm trying to, do my part. So I didn't say nothing. No big deal. I went to Scott and I said, hey, man, are we cool? Is everything good? He goes, yeah, what do you mean? I go, well, you didn't, hand me the microphone tonight. And he goes, oh, no, that's okay. Well, next Monday night, we go out, same thing. I come out, do the pointing at him, and you're the man, the big man, like I always would do, because Scotty was he was the freak, he was the man. He was getting over, and I put him over, just like I should have done as a manager. And I put him over. We come out, he cuts his interview, and hands it off again. So I came back to the back. I said, Scotty, what's going on? He brought up some kind of story he heard at the gym. And I said, stop. I said, bro, if me and you are going to start listening to people outside of this world we're in, we've gone from nobodies at center stage to rock stars, bro. You can't listen to Mark Wallace at the gym saying something about he said, she said. I said, bro, I'm telling you right now, we're not going to stay friends a month if you do that, because people that's how people are. Don't do this. Don't do this to us. So he goes, okay, you're right. I'm sorry. The very next week, he goes out, cuts the interview, and hands the mic off again. I go straight to Eric, and no heat, no mad, no yelling, no screaming. I went to Eric. I said, Eric, you know what? I said, I'm back healthy. I don't need him, and he don't need me. I said, so let's just break it off. Eric loved it. Made an angle out of it, had a little angle between me and Scotty, and went to Super Bowl with it, and put the Steiner brothers back together. So we made a good angle out of it, and it was a good thing. But me and Scotty stayed friends through the whole thing. Now that match, I did have to go. Keep in mind, Scotty's he's a freak, so I had to go up to him and go, "Do I need to defend myself?" And that's all I asked him, and he went, "No." And I said, "Okay." So I didn't know. I needed to know if I needed to defend myself out in the ring. I didn't. This was live TV. We're getting ready to do a match together. We haven't spoke. We didn't call nothing of that match together. None of it was called. We didn't go over anything. We just went out. So right before we got ready to go out, I said, "Do I need to defend myself?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Okay." So I didn't know until we locked up if we were cool.
Did he take care of you?
He did.
Okay.
And he did. So he locked up. He took care of me, and we've been friends ever since.
What about, have you paid attention to his rants on Hulk Hogan on the internet at all, or no?
I tried to, and I actually even had an 8-hour Virginia car ride with him about it. All I know is it's a shoot. It's 100% shoot, dude. And he even told me at one stage there's lawsuits involved. I mean, like Hogan's suing him, and he's suing him back, and I don't really know the facts. Once again, half what you and all that. I really don't know, but I've talked to him about it a lot, and he just fucking hates Hogan, bro. He does not like him. I don't understand why. Everybody's got their own reasons, but he does not like Hogan, and I don't want to say it like I'm trying to be cool, but I don't really give a fuck. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But I wish I knew more about it to tell you right now, but I really don't. I just know that I dove into it on a Virginia car ride home with him, and out of it came lawsuits and how much he hated, Hogan, and did you hear about me fucking with him? And yeah, and I did, and he said, he's suing me, and so I did get some of the facts out of the horse's mouth,
right.
So it was the truth. But I don't know exactly where it came from, where all the heat come from. I mean, tell me what is the deal? Do you know?
I don't know. I just know there's some kind of professional rivalry between
the
two. So
yeah, it goes back. Back in the day, it was Flair he hated.
Yep,
I'm not sure if that's still there. I think it is probably. But
yeah.
Back in the day, it was always about Flair. Now we watched that happen at Nitro, where he would tell Rick, you suck, you're old, and get out of the way, And we'd be like, that's Ric Flair, bro. I mean, come on. I mean, just, he'd say stuff like, change your match up. Your match is the same. And Rick had real good comebacks like, well, the reason my match is the same is because there may be a kid that comes see that match. So the reason why Rick always kind of stuck with the same thing is because he had a good point. That may be something, if I didn't do my dance or if I didn't do the blockbuster every single night, then maybe a kid came to see that. That was his comeback. But even back then, man, he had it in for the older guys, I think, and wanted them to get the fuck out of the way. And I didn't quite understand it, but that was the deal.
What are your thoughts on the rise and fall of Hulk Hogan and everything that's happened to him over the last year or two?
I don't fully know the fall. Once again, I hate to say this, but it's because I don't really give a fuck. I love Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
He's been great to me. He's always been good friends with me. But am I going to go on the internet and find out what's going on with Hulk Hogan? Absolutely not. I don't go on my own website. I don't know how to get there. If you told me to get to my website right now or die, I'd die because I wouldn't know how to get there. I got a manager that helps me with my emails and my websites and I can text on a phone and that's about it because I don't believe in the internet thing. I believe in it because it's very real, but back when it first came out, I'll tell you a quick story. Back in 2000, probably 1999, 2000 area, I remember the big white computer was on my desk in my house. And I was like, now what is this again? And they were like, what's a computer? And you can internet. I said, hold on, so let me ask a couple questions. I go, and the internet guy was there. I said, you mean to tell me I can go on this box and be anybody I want to be? And he said, yes. And I started laughing. I go, this will never make it. And I was bad wrong, okay? But that's what I really felt. I felt like if this thing could be, the society will not allow this to make it because there's no fucking way they're going to believe that. Well, as of date, I had 25 Buff Bagwell Facebooks. 5 of the 25 act like me. They type and act like they're me. So it's very believable. Society believed it. And there's even a fucking commercial that Avis does or somebody does where they go, why do you believe that? Because it's on the internet? And the girl goes, oh, I'm dating a French model. And then the ugly dude walks up and goes, bonjour. Right. So that's my life is really, do you really believe the internet? But people really do, bro. So
well, there's a lot of different aspects of the internet.
Absolutely.
There's social media. I think you're talking about like maybe Facebook and Twitters and stuff.
The Facebook, Twitter stuff, it just really gets lost on me.
Who's your best friend in the business?
For years, it was Sting. For years and years and years. And then he introduced me to Lex. And then it was me and Lex for years and years.
Who are you close with today?
I think through the whole storm, Lex.
Lex, okay.
Yeah.
Were you close at all with Eric Bischoff, or just
absolutely?
Did you look at him as your boss?
No, we were close. We rode bike. We were Harleys, separate Harley rides together and stuff like that. But Eric was not a Buff Bagwell fan at all. He had to. Nash and them went to him and said, "Look, man, Bagwell's really cool. You're missing out on it." Da 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 da. And we were out at a club one night, and Eric didn't like me, and I knew he didn't like me. And we was all partying and stuff at the club, and Eric goes, he made a couple of fag comments. Every good-looking guy in the world has been called a fag. Well, I've been called a fag 1,000 times. And so the fag thing got brought up, and he fag this, fag that. I let it kind of go a couple of times, and then finally said, "Hey, Bagwell, something about a fag again or something." I said, "Eric, hey, how's that feel?" He goes, "What do you mean? Well, how's what feel?" I said, "How's it feel that a fag gets more pussy than you do?" And this is the boss, and everybody goes, like, "What? Are you kidding?" And then he just busted out laughing. From that point on, we were tight.
Was Eric one of the boys, or was he the boss? Was he the boss figure?
Eric, to me, Eric always kept his distance as one of the boss. He really did. Like, I remember calling up one day, I called in sick for Nitro. Who would ever call in sick for Nitro when a private jet is waiting to take you to be a star on TV? There's guys that I'm going to go meet tonight at a wrestling show that would cut their arm off for that, and I call in sick. Well, I didn't know Norton had called too. So Bischoff gets on the phone and goes, get on one of those fucking things that I fucking let you buy over there at your fucking house and get to the fucking airplane. And I said, yes, sir. So, he was the ball for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with the American Gigolo series on Showtime? Let's talk about that.
Car wreck. The car wreck caused the whole thing. The car wreck, I had changed my phone number. Promoters didn't know where I was at. I'd had a devastating car wreck. My body was horrible. I was trying to get back in shape. Nobody knew if I was retired, quit, dead, alive. Nobody really knew what the situation was. And my wife found the Gigolo thing on TV. I mean, saw it on the internet. And was like, what the fuck is this? Is this something we can maybe do, make some money? We were broke, dude. We were getting ready to go under. And so I called up my manager, Kevin, his name's Kevin Ballou. And I said, Kevin, it's time. I said, whore me out. Let's shake it up. Let's do whatever. So he called them up. They were all about it. It was their highest rated show. Dude, I had to do a lot for that show. I had to go get blood taken and urine samples and tested for this and that, and HIV and all kind of stuff, dude.
For those who haven't seen the show, what's the premise of it?
The premise of it is it's a shoot.
I was going to ask you if it was a shoot.
It's a shoot. Now, the taping is not. The taping is like when you saw me fucking that chick, I wasn't fucking her. And for some reason, and I got in trouble with Showtime on saying this back when I had a contract with them, because they're a reality show. The reality show, for some reason, I don't know the difference, but it's a real fine line between being X-rated and it being on Showtime. So I was cutting interviews to save my wife's reputation and saying, I didn't fuck that girl. I acted like I fucked her, and that's how I was able to do it. And Showtime calls me and goes, what the fuck are you doing? You can't say that. This is a fucking reality show, Mark. And so I was like, but I didn't sleep with her. So I had to act like I did and all that when I really didn't. I was trying to save, my personal life and my wife's reputation of, look, when Tom Cruise fucks a girl in a movie, it's a movie. Why, he's married. Why is it a big deal? Well, they try to make it a big deal, me doing that when really I didn't fuck her. But I got best friends that think I fucked that girl still. And I go, dude, I swear to God I didn't. So that was the deal to it. But those guys really have clients, really do the Gigolo thing. And I'm still underneath that. And I've done a couple myself where you go out on a date or you take an older woman to a reunion or something. I've done like 2, I think. And it's called Cowboys for Angels. And you go on and they pay you like $3,000 to take a chick out to dinner. And so I've done 2 or 3. And and actually that was season 5 we did, and I signed on for season 6. It never happened.
Are you married today or no?
Yes, I am married.
Okay. What did your family think about it, like your mom and all that?
Mom, it kind of, you know what? Nothing messes up anybody in my family, and this kind of fucked everybody up. This one got them. It really did. Mark's always done whatever and been the rebel, been the wild child, but this one was a little different to the point Mom never watched it. My mom ran a lumber company for 17 years. She's one of the boys. When she came into wrestling, she fit right the fuck in because she was a hard ass and F this and screw that. And, she didn't give a shit. She raised 3 boys and ran a lumber company with 200 men employees and truck drivers in the 70s and 80s. No computer days, fucking, clipboard days.
Right.
20 clipboards for 20 trucks. So old school, all about the man, definitely old school woman. If somebody's wife got knocked out by her husband, she'd be like, well, did she deserve it? I mean, my mom's like one of those wives.
Yeah.
And so she's old school. And but that fucked them up. I mean, even my family, we got a few texts, through my family that said, like, we're praying for y'all on y'all's decisions and some stuff like that. And we were like, what? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm broke over here. I'm trying to make a living,
What's the biggest misconception about Marcus Bagwell?
That's a great question because I'm so upfront and I'm so honest. And I really believe it only takes a few minutes to see that. But I didn't even think about that. The biggest misconception, I don't know, man. It's like, for example, I've been told 10,000 times, God, man, you're a cool guy when people met me.
Right.
So I think the biggest misconception is them not meeting me. Them hearing something, thinking I'm a prick, asshole, cocksucker or whatever, not thinking I'm a nice guy, and then meeting me and it really blowing their minds going, you're really cool. Man, I didn't know that. And I'm like, dude, quit reading the internet shit and all that. So I think the biggest misconception is not meeting me. Not really understanding that I really am really telling the truth. And I really am coming from the hip on everything I do. And I think people don't understand that.
Is there a personality difference between Buff Bagwell and Marcus Bagwell?
Absolutely. This is Mark. I've been Mark Bagwell this entire interview. Buff Bagwell is a character that goes on TV that how I explain it is every wrestler just turns it up a notch. Buff Bagwell is Marcus Bagwell turned up a notch. I just let Marcus Bagwell out of the cage, and I think that's Buff Bagwell. But I think that's it for everybody. I think Ric Flair is Ric Flair, and he turns it up a notch for TV. So I really do think that that's all it is. It's just a little bit of exaggerated yourself.
What are your thoughts on the passing of Randy Savage and Roddy Piper? Were you close with those guys?
Well, first of all, let me tell you something that'll rock your world. I've wrestled, not met, not knew, not they were wrestlers, and I am too. I have physically wrestled like 68 or right at 70 dead guys. 70, bro. 70. So what do I feel about Eddie Guerrero, Bam Bam Bigelow, Kurt Hennig, Rick Rude? Dude, these guys are gone and dead. It blows my mind to answer your question. I was huge friends with Randy Savage. But for him to be one of the 70, and out of that 70, 40 were superstars, bro. Superstars. Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Rick Rude, Kurt Hennig, Bam Bam Bigelow. It goes on and on. Junkyard Dog. I mean, these are guys I physically wrestled that are gone, man. And that's crazy. You don't know 20 dead people. I've wrestled 70. So that's pretty fucked up, And I just hate it. It really hurts my feelings. Dusty Rhodes hired me, bro. Dusty hired me 26 years ago. Rips my heart out. He's gone. So that really does hit me pretty hard, harder than people think. But I think the overwhelming number is bigger than just Dusty's dead, Roddy's dead, Randy's dead. I didn't ever wrestle Hellwig, but Hellwig's dead. It's more that I wrestled 70. That's fucking ridiculous.
It is crazy.
It's nuts, dude. That's that number's that high.
You ever talk to Tom Zink anymore?
I was just thinking about him. Is he one of the 70 or not?
No, he's alive.
And he's not.
Yeah,
I know. That's from great.
But he is in hiding.
But no, I don't. What's the latest on him?
Nobody talks to him. He pretty much doesn't want anything to do with the business.
Last I heard, Minneapolis, living with his parents,
Yep.
and was doing some kind of internet stuff.
Yeah.
And that was 10 years ago. I heard that.
Steve Austin, were you surprised at his success in the business?
Not at all, man. Stunning Steve Austin, dude, was one of the best workers in the business. And we knew that going into it. Now, am I surprised at what came out of the WWF thing from seeing him as Stunning Steve? A little bit, yeah. But I think, all that would happen that way. Look at The Rock. Rock wasn't The Rock at first, It took Steve a little time, and then you get a name and a little bit of a gimmick and a little bit of a push, and man, he's fucking done great with it. But Stunning Steve Austin for WCW, I remember him being hurt a lot. I was a rookie. I don't really know. I remember I did a 10-minute match with him one time, and I survived the 10 minutes. And that was huge for me. It was like, 5, 4, him, roll up 3, 2, and I kicked out 1, and I went draw with Steve Austin, and that was huge for me. So Steve Austin was considered always one of the best wrestlers in the business. You shaved his head at the right time. Timing's everything. The top hat I wore at the right time. Everybody thought I was stupid. The tattoo I put on, everybody thought I was stupid. Him shaving his head, maybe people thought that was stupid. Timing's everything, and timing for him worked out great with the shaved head, the name, the attitude, and it worked. I'm not surprised at all about it, and think it's great.
What's the craziest thing you've seen in this line of work?
One of the craziest is Steve Regal getting us kicked off that flight. Me and Scott Norton and Regal were on a flight from Japan to the bike ride I told you about.
Right.
We're to fly into Minneapolis to go to Sturgis. We're going to ride our bikes to Sturgis. And we're on that. I went from a 4-week tour in Japan. I'm going to land in Minneapolis and do a 300-mile bike ride the next day. I actually wasn't going to do it now. I already decided there's no way I can do it. My bike's there. I'm not going to do it. On the way across Minneapolis, Steve, I know, take a Xanax and go to sleep on the airplane and wake up. I know that. Or take a halcyon, was back then they called them H-bombs, is all the wrestlers called them.
Yep.
But you took a halcyon and you went to sleep. I know about that. I didn't know about partying on that and drinking beer with it and stuff. We didn't do that. I was trying to get in shape for my body, He got fucked up one time on an airplane. One time I helped him up getting the stewardess helped me, told me to help him. I got him in his seat. The next time he had food all over him. I cleaned him up. The next time the plane lands and they kick us off the plane. And out of those 3 people, who do you think Eric Bischoff thought was to blame? Me.
Right.
So he calls me, he goes, what the fuck did you do? I go, Eric, you got to listen to me. I swear to God. I'm telling you the truth. Steve had actually pissed on the stewardess. The door was halfway closed. She was trying to help him close the door, and he turned and pissed on the stewardess. Emergency landed the plane in Anchorage, Alaska, and kicked off the plane.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much longer do you want to be in this business? And would you ever want to do anything behind the scenes?
I would love to do something behind the scenes in this business. Your first question, I don't know on how long, because I don't see much more life left. There's a short time left for Buff for what's going on right now, but there could be a long time if something happened to him, like, creative control or help with the talent, or I would love to do something like take a young kid's talent like that brought me over tonight and tell him, hey man, try this and try that and do this and do that. I'd love to do something like that in this business. I love this business. So I'd love to do something like that.
What do you do these days? Besides taking, indie bookings and stuff.
That's all I do.
Okay.
Man. Yeah, I train people. I'm a personal trainer.
Okay.
So during the week, I got a few clients that I train if they're serious. I don't mess around and just do the regular training. If the guy's really serious or the girl, I'll hop in and help them train, but only if they're serious. And then the rest of the time, I just keep in shape and still pay the bills doing the indies.
You ever talk to Missy Hyatt at all?
Just saw her at WrestleCade. She
pretty much really helped you out when you first
Not pretty much.
She got you into the business.
Totally got me in the business.
Yeah.
And told me how to act and everything. She taught me how to keep your mouth shut. Don't ask for the money. Don't worry about the money. Learn the business. Shake hands. Be nice. You're going to have a ton of heat. She explained everything to me before it came, and it helped me a lot to go sit in the corner and shut my fucking mouth in the room. And I did. And it helped a lot.
Any advice you might want to give? I mean, you're one of those guys that were lucky. You came into the business right when the territories were dying. You were in Global, which is pretty much, I want to say, the last territory. It wasn't even really a territory.
No.
It was a TV. They had TV and stuff. So you got lucky, and then you got WCW. You got your deal with Maggie and Dusty.
Yeah.
What do you say to the guys that are looking to get into the business today?
Get out. It would be get out.
Wow.
It would be. Please have something to fall back on, 1,000%. Or you need to get out right now, because I don't think there's that kind of run. There's not enough room. There's nowhere to go. TNA's barely making it. And I talked to the kid coming over here today that's working tonight. And I said, what's the independent story on TNA? And he went, I really don't know. And I said, let me stop you right there. I go, you should know. Do you know that? He goes, you know what? You're exactly right. I should know. I go, no, I know I'm right. I said, you definitely should fucking know. If you're trying to get in this business, what's going on with TNA? But still, go ahead and continue. I apologize. Don't take that wrong. I said, tell me what you know. And he kind of told me what was going on, and it was more than I knew. Because I don't keep up with it that way. I want to, but I don't quite understand and all that. But he told me about the tapings and EC3 and how they did the belt thing. And so he knew a good bit about it. But to not know exactly what's going on in TNA, that kid tonight should either have something to fall back on or get out, because there's just not enough positions. I mean, it'd be like tomorrow, if football went to 15 teams, who's going to be the fucking quarterback?
Yeah.
Who's going to be the running back of the Eagles? Who's going to be the running back of the Patriots? And there's going to be a fight about it. And there's going to be a good fight, because there's going to be a bunch of people in that position, and who gets it, and who's kissing ass, and dude, it's who you know and who you blow, and the right places, and timing, and the way you look, and how good it's so much involved. And now you got one company that's doing it, one. And that's it. So I would literally say, first I'd say, give me a tape of you.
Yeah.
And if there was just an inkling of there wasn't going to very good, I'd be, get out, dude. Just please stop right now. You're not ever going to make it. So a lot of guys nowadays say things to me like, hey, I just do it, just for the weekend. I go, perfect. Because that's all you're going, bro. There's not enough places to go.
Any regrets?
No regrets. I told the guy coming over today, and I'll tell you, and we can end it this way, which would be a good way to end it. I could have lived a rock star lifestyle like I did and been broke right when WWE let me go, which is what happened in 2001. Or I could have watched every dime I spent and lived another 3 or 4 years without working. Instead of living 3 or 4 years, not having to work and paying the bills and staying in my big house for 3 more years, I stayed 3 years less, and I've got a photo album and videotape full of memories and beautiful pictures and rock star lifestyle with Harleys and Corvettes and mansions and theater rooms that nobody can ever imagine playing or doing. So those 3 years would have been worth it. So zero regrets.
Well, I want to thank you. We'll end on that note. And
absolutely.
It's been a great interview, and I wish you the best of luck in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being so honest.
Thank you, man.